I have a brief presentation that I'm going to share with you, talking about our program. I always like to give an agenda, so we'll look at the program overview, student demographics and your backgrounds, and some career opportunities and tips for success. So our program is an 8-month graduate certificate program. It's 14 courses, so 8 courses in the first semester and 6 courses in the second semester. It is full of hands-on learning and wherever possible client projects. So we're doing real projects for businesses and organizations, nonprofits within the community. There is a 224-hour field placement, which is pretty standard for public relations programs, but ours is, I think, in the top 3 in terms of longest placements in colleges in Ontario for the public relations program. You have the opportunity to attend networking events, and there are lots of volunteer opportunities that I'm happy to share with the students. And this is, you can see just a picture of our class of 2019. This was at a professional networking workshop that they were attending. So as I said, you have 8 courses in the first semester. What I really like about our program, and we've worked very hard to create this, is the combination of writing and public relations, but there's also a lot of design work and digital marketing. So we're really giving you the breadth of experience that you would need in a public relations and communications role. So you are learning video, how to shoot video and how to edit basic video. You're learning about web design and optimization, but you're also doing writing for public relations and learning some of the theory behind strategic public relations. So it is a busy first semester, about 24 hours of classwork each week, and then there's the homework and assignments on top of that. In your second semester, we continue on with the combination of design, strategy, and writing. But this is also when you do your field placement. So you have classes on Mondays and Tuesdays, and the field placement takes place Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So you have 3 days a week of placement and then 2 days a week of classes. So again, it tends to make for a very busy week. Like I said, lots of people really like the aspect or the idea of a field placement in our program. And it's really a very attractive part of our program. So 224 hours. Opportunities are posted. So some colleges, they make you find your own field placements. I use my network in London, Ontario, and I reach out and ask for willing hosts, field placement hosts. They provide me a job description and I post that for students. And so you're applying just like you would a regular job. So it gives you interview experience, and you may go on a couple of different interviews before you're offered a placement, but I think it really gives you that valuable experience trying to find your own, but with a little bit of help. And that's how I like to do it. I also, as much as possible, try to gauge student interest in terms of what kind of sector they're interested, or you're interested in working, and if possible, connect you with people to provide you that experience that you're seeking when possible. So in terms of host organizations, arts organizations, we do have a theater in London. We have some museums and art galleries, and they've all hosted students in the past. Lots of small businesses and startups are really interested in making that student connection and helping students, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So you're helping them and they're helping you. We have a number of creative agencies and ad agencies in London, and quite often we can have students do their placement there. Lots of nonprofits need that extra help and the fresh eyes and support, and design experience. And we have several educational institutions and municipal and local government. So lots of different opportunities and sectors that you can do your field placement. In terms of our student demographics, most have a university or college background. Our international students tend to all have a university background. Some have masters in, we've had masters in English literature and masters in business or business administration, and lots of different backgrounds. And as your educational backgrounds were read out, that's pretty much par for the course in terms of our students. And what I like to say is it doesn't matter what your education is, your background. So if you have theater arts or English, literature, really public relations, the field and what we, how we teach in the program, you aren't expected to have any experience. You aren't expected to know very much about public relations or corporate communications. We start from the ground up. It's the important things are a passion for communicating, a passion for writing, and we often say that we're storytellers. We are there to share an organization or a company's story and to put the best story forward, while also always telling the truth and being ethical. So backgrounds, I think they bring a richness to the classroom, but it doesn't matter what your background is in terms of being successful in this field. Ages range for students between sometimes 20, we've had some as young as 20, to about 35. We have lots of young single students, and we've even had students who are, you know, single parents or married with children and balancing everything. And they are successful. It's a lot of hard work, but they are successful. The class size, depending on the number of students, about 18 to 34 per class. So depending on what you're used to, it's a nice, small, very doable class size. You really get to know your colleagues, your classmates, and you'll develop some really great friendships, which is a bonus for the program. And a mix of domestic and international students from around the world, just like those of you joining this virtual open house. And I was going through, I don't know if you see your own flag here, and if you don't, next virtual house, open house, will add yours to it. But these are students in the past, the different countries that we've hosted, and probably a couple more. I may have missed some. The kinds of projects that you're doing, I have a philosophy that any project that you do in our program should be able to go into your professional portfolio. So we don't have a lot of tests, and we don't have any final exams in the program. It's all hands-on, and the majority of the projects are something that you would be able to add to your professional portfolio. And in the second semester, you are working on creating two, a digital and a hard copy portfolio that should be interview ready. We really want to make you ready for job interviews and to start your career. So you're working on communication plans, doing presentations, social media audits and strategies. We have, like I said, 3 writing courses. So doing media releases, advisories, kits, all sorts of things. So the emphasis is projects that you would be doing as an entry level communications and public relations practitioner. There is, when you're applying, there is a supplemental requirement. So I'm not sure with international students at what point you get this information, but you are asked to include a resume, a statement of intent, so why you want to be in this program, and 2 to 3 original writing samples. And that's really because of the emphasis on writing. And we just want to make sure that people who are in the program, that we're setting you up for success and that you're strong writers to begin with. We do have a requirement that it's 60% to pass the writing courses in our program. So we want to make sure that you can at least meet that threshold. So We have the supplemental in place. It's been in place for the past, I think, 2 or 3 years now. And we focus on Canadian press style of writing, and that's what you're taught in your writing courses. I know that international students often want to consider 2 graduate certificates to get that work permit, the 3-year work permit. So these are some related programs at Fanshawe that you may want to also be aware of or check out. So marketing management, a lot of students come from the marketing program and then come to ours, or vice versa. There's advanced communication for professionals, international business management, and digital communication management, which is a new program that I am creating, and that will launch in January of 2021. So that's exciting. And again, it would pair very well with the public relations and corporate communications program. So employed in the field. So these were just, I went through my LinkedIn and looked at students, international students who have taken our program and where are they working. So we have, you know, their name, where they're, the country that they're from. They're all working in Canada, and these are the kinds of jobs that they're doing. So again, very program related, you can see. So 14 habits of highly successful PR students. I'm not going to read out all 14, but you can take a look. It's a demanding program. You have a lot of group work. So being able to work well with others is very important. Being able to communicate effectively is very important with your peers and with your professors. But we also want to make sure that you're looking after yourself and that you're having fun and enjoying this experience. This might be one of the last educational endeavors that you have before you start a very long and successful career. So we want to make sure that you're enjoying it, but you're also doing the work and learning from all of the assignments and the interactions in the class and the discussions and participating. That's really important. So it doesn't matter what your background is, but the people who get the most out of our program are the ones who show up every day to class, who participate, who ask questions, and they say yes. So again, we have a theater arts person. There's I guess with improv, if you're doing improv theater, the idea is say yes. So you're not shutting the other person down, and you're seeing and exploring where something goes. And I invite people to say yes to different opportunities at Fanshawe and in the community to really get the most out of your experience at Fanshawe and in the program. So I'm going to stop it there and see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Jackie. That was fantastic information. I will say that corporate communication is, public relations, corporate communication is one of our, has historically been one of our most popular program for international audience. But I think what is so important, and Jackie also said, is that when you get into the program, we're ready to work, put in the work that is required to be successful in the career. I've actually had a family member take this program, and I have heard nothing but rave reviews about this program and the amount of hands-on work that you get to do. And I think that is because of Jackie's network within the industry, and that students get to do this hands-on work and actually get to do the work that they would be doing once they get a full-time employment. So thank you for that, Jackie. At this stage, I will ask people, students, agents, to put in their questions in the Q&A, but I already have questions from my end for Jackie. And you did talk about, Jackie, no final exams, hands-on work, projects and all that. That's my standard question, because I think everyone coming to Canada and coming to our community college education system need to understand how much practical work, like what kind of projects, what kind of assignments. So I know you already mentioned this in your PowerPoint, but if you can elaborate a little more on the hands-on work and how learning happens in a classroom, that would be great, Jackie.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. It is our philosophy, and it's hard for some students, especially domestic students who come from a university background. They comment on where's the theory, and this is really, they have a hard time adjusting to college life and college programs. So there is some lecture for sure, but it's interactive. It's not like you are sitting in a classroom being spoken to or talked at for 3 hours. We might present a concept and then, small group breakouts to discuss something, and then come back, report back to the larger group. So it's very much, it's almost if you've attended workshops. It's more workshop-like than university style of learning. And whenever possible, sometimes we're approached by organizations in the community to say, it would be great if we could get your students to do this research for us, or we're looking for a new way of reaching our publics. Maybe your students could look at that for us and then present. So wherever possible, we try and take on those projects because it's great for the students and it's great for the community, and it's about relationships.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. We already have questions coming in, but I do have another question that I always like asking around the size of the classroom. Like how big is the classroom and why is that size so important for your classroom?
Okay, so again, depending on the year, we have between 18 and 34 students per class. And it allows us to, one, it's often restricted because of computer labs and the idea of the number of computers available. But it's also important because of the kind of group work that we're doing. And it's important because of the kind of relationships that we're trying to build and establish with our students. As long as you attend class and you participate, we know your name. You're not just a number. You're not just, some face in the back. We really make an effort to get to know our students and their interests, their goals, and help with that. So the class size is really helpful to build those relationships with instructors and with peers.
Thank you, Jackie. The questions coming in, we have multiple questions. A couple of questions are around the writing samples that you spoke about in the supplemental. Yes. Can you talk a little more about the writing samples? We have some of our education partners asking for their students.
Sure. We're just asking for original writing samples. It can be a blog post, something that you've done in a previous academic program, is to get a sense of the writing skill. It's so important to be strong writers, and it's only fair to accept people into the program who will succeed. And our standards have to be very high. That's the expectation in the industry. That's the expectation for the field placement. And so we just want your examples of your best writing.
Thank you, Jackie. We have a question coming in around the supplemental. How is that to be sent? So I think the question is through an agent. So I will tell you that for international students, when students apply online on our application portal, they get instructions clearly how and when to submit the supplemental. So once you apply, you will get instructions. You don't have to send anything to anyone at this stage, but once you've applied, you will get clear instructions on when to send it, like there'll be a deadline, and how to send it. So that's just an information around the supplemental. So Jackie, we have a question coming in from Ife from Nigeria. The question is, how well do you help international students settle into the program without any prior knowledge of public relations? So how does that work? And I think the second part of the question is also around, does interaction or participation carry weightage, carry credit? Like, how does that work as well?
Okay, both are really, really great questions. So one of your courses in the first semester is strategic public relations. And it starts with what is public relations. It gives you a history of public relations through the years, and then it sort of walks you through creating a strategic communications or public relations plan. It identifies all of the terms and key players. So there's no expectation that you have this background. You're here to learn. And I know that some of the other PR programs in Ontario want you to, write a media release, come up with a communications plan, all of that. And that's fine for them. We believe that we're here to teach you that, and that's why you would choose to take a graduate certificate program in it. So there's no expectation. As far as participation, yes, most of the courses have a participation grade, and it's not just it's not attendance. Okay, you don't get a check mark for being there, and it's actually participating. And for students who come every day but don't say a word, you're not going to get a great grade in participation. We want to hear from you. We want you to engage. It's really important that you participate and ask questions and give your opinions.
Thank you, Jackie. We have next question coming in around the second program, with Jackie underscored because she understands. She's worked with hundreds of international students over the last decade. So yep, she really understands that international students do look for that second program, which is a great fit. And I love that, Jackie, that you already gave students recommendations about what second program can they choose. So thank you for that. This question coming in is around how and when do you apply for the second program in order to get up to 3 years work permit? So the question is from Carla, and I will try to answer the question. There are a couple of ways of applying for the second program. First way is when you're applying for the first time to Fanshawe, you are absolutely sure what would be your first program and what would be your second program. You apply together. You can make that application right on our application portal. So you can choose the first program, corporate communications, second program, digital communications management, for example, and you can do that right there on there. But many students are not sure about that. So that's okay. When you get to Canada, let's say you're in the first semester of public relations, corporate communications, and then you realize, okay, digital communications would be a good fit. You come into the International Center, or you contact us, email us, and we will help you put in that second program so that you can then continue your program in the second year. And if you are doing that, you have a 1-year work study permit, and then you want an extension of that study permit as well. We will help you through that as well. It's not a difficult process at all. But yes, once you've done the first program and second program successfully, you can apply for up to 3 years work permit. The next question, Jackie, and I think you would have experience with this. How difficult is it to juggle a part-time work along with studies, right? You would have seen students do it successfully. You would have seen students struggle with it. So what is your advice around that?
It is possible, for sure. It depends on the kind of part-time job. We've had students who, unfortunately, the job that they're getting or they choose is something where they're working nights. So they go to school during the day, then they work nights, then the next day they come to class, they're tired, they're falling asleep, they're not engaged, and it affects their grades and their studies. So it is possible you want to get something that supports your academics, because really that has to be your priority. And I understand with international students especially the importance of, getting that part-time job, working to be able to afford some of the little extras or the basics, right? But you have to always remember that you're here for a program and for learning. That has to be priority. Then right after that, because I get it, it is so important, then it's your part-time job. You have to have excellent time management skills. This is a career where deadlines matter, and they matter in the program as well. So you need to be able to hand things in on time and make sure that your job supports that.
Thank you, Jackie. And as I like say to all international students, you are in Canada to study. That needs to be your priority. You're on a study permit. Working part-time is fine. But what I find the best practice to be is when you come to Canada, don't start a part-time job right away. Spend time in your program, see how you are dealing with the program. You might be a superstar, or you might be someone who needs to spend more time in the program, like probably I would. So that's some, I think, give yourself time and then decide if you would be able to do a part-time job with a program. Also, like graduate certificates, these are our postgraduate programs are meant to be competitive. We're preparing you for a world where you have to be fast, you have to understand the content very, very clearly, and it's competitive. So that's what professors are trying to prepare you for. So with that, you have to balance any other commitments that you might have. The next question is around paying the fee once you get the letter of acceptance. The question is from Ninu. Ninu, the answer is on your letter of acceptance. So if you get a letter of acceptance, the letter of acceptance generally provides you the process of paying your fee. If you have any questions about it, there is an application email address given on your letter of acceptance. Please contact us. If you have any questions about deadlines or how to pay the fee and things like that, we will help you with that. Jackie, the next question is coming in from Adarsh from India. And Adarsh is talking about the public relations employment demand, job market in London, in Southwestern Ontario, in Ontario in general. So how does that look like? Are there big companies that hire? Are these mid-sized companies? What kind of companies hire students from these programs?
A little bit of both. So what I like to say is if you're, and this comes from somebody who was on our program advisory committee. So our program and the curriculum is shaped by people who work in the field and say, you know, grads need to be able to do X and Y. And at one of our meetings, she said, you know, the students can't solely be looking for public relations. So you might be doing aspects of public relations, but it's really, you're looking for communications, marketing, digital communications, digital media jobs. That's the sort of, so lots of different jobs fall under this umbrella of public relations. In London, we have done research and it is growing. It's a growing field, about 3% per year. Definitely in Southwestern Ontario, there's growth, and certainly in the GTA. The Greater Toronto Area, sorry. So there's lots of employment opportunities. We have medium-sized companies with some larger head offices for sure, but I also think that a lot of the opportunity is in the smaller companies and the startups, and where you could really start your career and shape it in this nice, smaller environment.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Next question is around, the question is from Mirza, and the question is, if a student is not up to the mark in some way in the program, what supports or student success services do you provide to help students? As coming to Canada is a transition, of course, emotionally and in many other ways. So Jackie, if you can talk about supports, I can add on about the international supports as well to that.
Sure. We have found with the supplemental, especially with the writing side, that fewer students need that support. We've already identified that, yes, we think you'll be successful in this program. But if not, there are tutoring services that you can access through the college, even one-on-one meetings with your writing professor to get some extra help. We have one of the textbooks is really sort of piece by piece how to successfully write in that Canadian press style guide. And we're sort of deprogramming, and I am focusing on the writing, but we're sort of deprogramming this academic long sentences and trying to write to impress, and getting people to really focus on how to communicate clearly and effectively, concisely, to the point. And that takes a lot in terms of getting used to. There's peer tutoring that's available, because the other side is the design aspect, and not everybody is used to Adobe Creative Suite. And there are, you can access peer mentoring, and again, it's one-on-one in a lab, so often you get time with an instructor. There are lots of different resources that you can access at the college and through the program.
Thank you, Jackie. The next question, I think you'll like this question. The question is, the question is, what sets this program offered at Fanshawe above other schools in Ontario with the same program? And there is a second part of the question. It's a separate question from someone else.
Okay.
Yeah, the other is a different question from someone else, but it's related, I think. They're saying, how does a PR program at Fanshawe differ from a university? So I think this PR program at Fanshawe versus other Ontario programs, and versus the PR program versus a PR program in university.
Okay, good question. I have done a lot of research in terms of all of the programs, the PR programs offered across Ontario. Not just because they are my competitors, but I have a master's in communication and technology, and I have a master's in public relations. And one of my program assignments was I chose to look at PR programs across Ontario and sort of see what they were doing. And my focus was about intercultural public relations and global public relations, and who was offering that. And truth be told, very few. As far as how do we differ, we have one of the longest field placements, so in terms of total number of hours. And it's also 2 14-week semesters. So there are some programs that it's longer than 14 weeks. They go 3 terms. You would graduate in the middle of, you're going into May and June if you have a September start. So that is definitely one of the differences. We also have the smaller class size, so that focus on fewer than 34 students. And the idea of a really supportive community in terms of the Fanshawe community, but also London, Ontario. I have lots of students from lots of different countries who they may want to end up working in a different city, and they may want to go to Toronto eventually, but they like that they chose Fanshawe and chose London because it's smaller, it's more affordable, and they have that one-on-one sort of faculty student experience. As far as how this differs from a university public relations program, I don't know of too many PR programs at universities. I have my master's from in public relations from a university, but definitely that the college difference is the idea of being hands-on. And there is Western has, I'm not sure if this is what the person is thinking about, but Western here in London has a 1-year PR program. So you're paying for 3 terms, and you have a 1 full term of a placement, but it does end up to be a little bit more expensive. Great faculty, great experience. But ours is that focus is the hands-on learning.
I would also say, Jackie, from my perspective, my question to you is, Jackie, how long have you been involved with the corporate communication program at Fanshawe College?
Oh, a long time now. I'm actually a graduate of the program. So when the program started years ago, I took the program the very first year that it was offered. And then I worked for 15 years in the industry. So my background is doing corporate communications and internal communications in the finance sector and nonprofit sector. And after about 15 years, I knew that I loved teaching. It was a passion of mine. And I took a master's. I started my master's in communication technology because that's one of the requirements for full-time faculty. So I started part-time in September of 2010. So I'm coming up on my 10th year with the program.
And I think that, in my opinion, is another thing that sets our programs apart. Professors like you who've been involved with the program, you really have the history with the program, with the industry, and with the college. And that really adds a very rich value to the program, in my opinion, as well. So I think that's another thing that sets Fanshawe's program apart from other programs in Ontario and in universities.
Thank you.
So the next question, and I'll try to answer this question, is around assistance to international students as well. So as Jackie spoke about, a lot of peer-to-peer tutoring and other supports that are provided. Learning Center, in my opinion, is one of the big supports that students could use. Library is another support. People think library is a physical space where you just go and read books. In our college, it's not just a physical space. There are so many resources available. I tell every international student, the first time you're doing a project or a program or an assignment, one, take help from Learning Center around, okay, how can you make it better? But also attend these workshops that library organizes around plagiarism, APA format of referencing, because these are all new things for many students. So those are services provided. But within the International Center, there are services provided as well, not academic services, but services that students might need. You might be missing home, you might be missing your food, and there might be other challenges that might be happening. Through that process, there are international student life coordinators in the International Center who you can talk to about, of course, academic questions, but also non-academic questions, things that are going on in your life and challenges or jubilations that you might be having in your life, just someone to talk to, which is super important, we believe. So those are just some examples of the services provided to international students as well. Jackie, next question is, and I wish we had answers for this, is around the September 2020 intake. Will it have to be online or not? All I'll say about that is, as soon as we know if the program is online or what is happening, we will communicate with our students/applicants. But Jackie, maybe you can talk about your online experience till now. I know you've had a winter class, graduated online, and probably a summer class going on right now as well. So your experience around online and how we are doing online, if you can talk about that, that would be great. Sure.
As I said before, I have 2 master's programs. Both were distance education. So I am, very familiar with online courses, online programming, and what's required from both the professor side, but also the students. And we didn't have a lot of choice, but I think we successfully made the transition to online in the winter semester. And so far this term in summer, it seems to be going well. So again, those same tips and important study habits, participating, showing up. I think at the beginning with the idea of a global pandemic, it was very difficult for students to be focused. But we sort of rallied through practicing what we preach. So that clear, open communication, the importance of, still handing things in on time and the deadlines, and participating and providing some sort of structure to their day was really important. So being an online learner, you have to, again, be there, be present, and participating. Our approach, depending on the course and the faculty members are providing videos for the more technical courses, so that students can access those videos and review and replay and that sort of thing. So we are handling it. It's not the same as being in the class. And my husband, he also teaches in the program, and we both comment about how we miss that student engagement and miss the students in the classroom. It's definitely not the same. But it's still, as long as you do the work and the background readings, you can still have rich conversations. It's just not the same. So we are focused on making sure that you have the best experience possible in an online environment. And it is really how I did 2 degree programs, and you can get a lot of information and still have a rich experience, but it is what you put into it.
Thank you, Jackie. We do have many more questions, of course, but I do have a comment from a student who actually has done your program. I just want to read it out. The comment is from Mirza Asma, and the comment is, I have taken this program myself at Fanshawe, and I can say that Jackie is the best part of this program, as she personally gets involved with everything. But besides this, Fanshawe's program is practical, whereas at university, it's lengthy and more theoretical. So thank you, Mirza, for that comment.
As soon as I heard the name, I thought of Mirza, the past student, and yeah, thank you so much.
All right. So there is another question coming in from Adarsh. And the question is, I think this student has been accepted to public relations, corporate communication. What kind of prep can they do before getting into the program? What are the things that they can prepare for before starting their program at Fanshawe?
If they wanted to, they could purchase the Canadian Press Style Guide. And be familiar with the kind of writing that the Canadian business writing that we do, or do a lot of reading of Canadian newspapers, and get familiar with how we do our storytelling, because there are cultural differences. So that would be a good way to start, and definitely paying attention to global events. And again, I know, I think it was, well, doesn't matter. So some Ontario college, they do part of the interview process is asking about global events and current events and what's going on. So make sure that you have an appetite for the news and information, because that's not just part of the program, but that will be part of your placement as well. You need to know what's going on, and not just globally, but locally, depending on the organization. You need to know industry and sector, and what sorts of things are shaping how we communicate.
Awesome, thank you, Jackie. The next question is from Adarsh again. Adarsh, I want to give a big shout out to you for so many really good questions, so thank you. So the next question is around the French language. And is it valued by companies here in Ontario? Are there kind of opportunities that they can get if they learn French as well, especially in the communications field, or the communication is totally focused on English in Ontario? So there's a question around that.
Okay, wow, excellent question. So there are a couple of different, in part, it depends. So it depends what kind of French you are learning. If it's a European French, if it's the Quebecois French from French Canadian French, or a different kind, right? So that's one thing. In London or the Greater Toronto area, it's mostly you're focused on English communication. If you're looking at something more in the Ottawa area or government communications, then knowledge of French is certainly beneficial, for sure. That being said, we do have agencies here in London that have clients that are maybe they produce things bilingually. So it's always, it wouldn't hurt, but it's certainly not a requirement to be successful in the field here in Ontario.
Awesome, thank you, Jackie. I will just take a minute for a plug-in at this point. So all the students joining us today, I would like to invite you to attend a session that Fanshawe International is hosting with LEDC, London Economic Development Corporation, on Friday. That session is just talking about the industry in the city and why London is such an awesome place to study, work, and live. It's happening this Friday. The details will be on our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn pages later today. So I would really encourage you, especially if you are a student or an education partner, you should check out that session. It might have come to your email as well as an invitation, but I just want to take put a plug in for that session happening this Friday. Jackie, the next question, and we would be taking only a few more questions. The next question is from Miranda, and the question is, I'm a bit worried about the work placement is done during the second semester rather than at the end. How many hours during the day, Wednesday to Friday, will we work at our placement?
You're expected to be there full-time hours. So from 8 or 8:30, 9 o'clock until 3, 4, or 5. I let the organization set those expectations, but it's really like a job. So you're like a part-time employee there for 3 days a week. And that's the other thing I really like about the placements is they treat you like an employee. They have the same expectations. They lots of times I love hearing when, you know, they invited me to other meetings. They, you know, invited me out for lunch. We did this, we did some networking, that sort of thing. So you're there full-time hours and for the entire semester.
And Jackie, is there a reason why we did not put this as like a third semester and included this in like the second semester? And what's the value of studying and working at the same time, like hand in hand around that?
We've asked and looked at this a lot. The first semester with 8 courses really is about introducing the concepts and the idea of and the best practices for public relations and corporate communication. And the second semester, I like the model that you are learning and you can, it's sort of like having a touch point back at the college 2 days a week, and you're in the industry so that you're still learning things that you can be applying to your placements, and the placement projects you can apply to the program. It makes it very busy, but it also makes sure that you're sort of, I don't want to, in and out of our program in 8 months. And I understand I would not want to be a student where I'm paying for another semester to be working for free for an organization, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're really trying to give you the best of both worlds so that you have the academics and you have that experience. Some programs do have like a condensed 7 weeks, and then you do your placement for 7 weeks. I'm not a big fan of condensed learning. I don't think that you get the breadth of experience. And the other thing is, I like that you get to see, you have more potential to see a project from start to finish over 14 weeks than 7 weeks. And a lot of times with nonprofits, we find that their events are happening January, February, and early March. So you get that experience to help from the ground up rather than just, oh, all our events are done. You can be doing some research. You can be doing something else. I don't think it allows you to be as hands-on.
Fantastic. So last 2 questions, Jackie. The first question is around the gaming industry in London. And is there like a segue for public relations students into the gaming industry? That's a question coming in from others.
Wow, that's a good one. We do have, we have a couple of gaming companies here in London. I think we've had 1 or 2 maybe students have placements. They really want you to have, from their perspective, they want you to have more of a background than what some of our students had coming into the program. That being said, if I am happy to advocate on behalf of my students. If you have an interest, I will use my contact. I will reach out to the community and say, I have a student who's interested. They would like to do their field placement. Work for you for 224 hours to gain the experience. So we do have companies here in London, Ontario. I haven't had, I don't think, a student do their placement at one of them that I can remember, but that's not to say that if you have the aptitude and the attitude that they wouldn't take you.
Yeah, I thought that was a great question too. And gaming industry has gotten so big in London in the last 5 years. It's been a big change. But I also know like gaming industry always, they of course need communication professionals, but they also, I think, kind of expect a more gaming background,
Right.
or at least a different set of skill set. But again, if you have that and you do the communications as well, I think that could be a great fit. So that was a great question, Adarsh. So I'm going to take one last question, Jackie, and then I'm going to let you have the final comments for students looking at our program as well. The question is around the maintaining grade. So I think that's more around the passing grades that students have to get, like in each course or in the overall level. So what is that like?
Okay, for most courses, a 50 is a pass. So a 50 is a D, so it's not that great, but that's the pass. In the writing courses, so we have two, the writing for public relations 1 and 2, that passing grade is a 60. And so that's how we actually assess the supplementals and the writing, is you have to get at least a 60 on those. So we're making, again, we're trying to set you up for success. So we're making sure that the writing that we're seeing is on par with what we would be expecting at the sort of the beginning of start of the program. So it's a 60 to pass for those two courses. That being said, you need to have greater than a 2.0 GPA. So getting all Ds is not enough to graduate, and that's a college policy. So you need to have in excess of 2.0 in order to pass the program and to graduate.
Awesome, thank you, Jackie. The last question has come in. Again, there's one more question, but I think I can answer the question. The question is around when applying for the study visa, will we get an 8-month or a 1-year study visa? It's okay, Miranda, even though the question is not academic, I can answer this. Miranda, it totally depends on the visa office, but I will tell you, in short, it does not matter if you get an 8-month or a 1-year study visa. Your study visa has no impact on the duration of your study visa, has no impact on your postgraduate work permit. How much time you've studied has an impact on your postgraduate work permit. So even if, for example, you got a 3-year study visa, but you only study for 1 year, your work permit will be dependent on the 1 year of study, not the 3 year of your study visa. So you might get an 8-month study visa, you might get a 1-year study visa. That doesn't matter. The program for our immigration is considered a 1-year program. So that means if you've done this program, you qualify for up to 1 year postgraduate work permit. But again, as Jackie said, you could add another program, and then if you do 2 academic programs, 1 year and 1 year, you qualify for up to 3-year work permit. I hope I was able to answer that question, Miranda. Jackie, over to you. Thank you so much for this session. First of all, I think it was super informational and great that students were able to ask all these questions of you. Jackie, your last thoughts for all the students, advice for students coming into Fanshawe programs in the near future.
Wow. Well, thank you for co-facilitating this and for setting this up. It was a great experience. I love hearing all the programs and the program questions and really what's on your mind. I'm flattered isn't the right word, but I'm glad that you're considering Fanshawe College and the public relations program. We have an excellent program. We work very hard to give students an amazing academic experience. There are two full-time faculty, and the rest are part-time faculty who are working in the field, and they are industry experts. And everyone works together very well to make sure that you are getting the skills and experience that you need to be successful in the field. And I look forward to meeting many of you in September or January.